Hey everybody, christopherodd here. Welcome to a game called Iratus, Lord of the Dead. If you're coming here because you're on Steam, you're like, I don't know what this game's about, I'm gonna go check it out on the YouTubes, well, that's cool. If you're coming here because you're a subscriber, that's also cool. Let me tell you this game is very similar and heavily influenced by games like Darkest Dungeon and Dungeon Keeper, but in the hour that I've spent playing it and learning some of the mechanics, every time something new gets introduced, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, P.S. Darkest Dungeon, you should probably steal that because that's really good. And this game, I think, is going to stand on its own pretty well. I'm going to take you guys through the beginning of the game, and that will introduce the mechanics as we go so that I don't have to explain them in my own words, and the game can just explain them. Thanks to Sandbox and Iratus, Lord of the Dead, for reaching out and offering to sponsor a video. Happy to work with you guys, and this is already a fantastic game, so it's best of both worlds. Anyways, enough yammering. Iratus, Lord of the Dead. Let's go. So I've done 2 battles. 2. I'm pretty much an expert now. We're going to start a new game. And I actually like games that do this, where you have to finish the previous things in order to unlock more. So you could go to more pain straight away, but you have to finish the tutorial. So I'm going to roll the intro for you guys to kind of set up the story, and then we're getting right into the game.
Life is a disease. A millennium ago, a supreme necromancer was on the verge of conquering the world. But you know what they say about best laid plans. Inevitably, heroes shall emerge. So, I was made dead. Again. But what does death really mean for somebody who has mastered it, Boredom. An eternity to ponder my errors and how close I came to victory. I am a mortal, but when this world ends, even I will know oblivion. And so, I ask myself, will I be given another chance to rise before it happens? Another chance to fulfill my ambition? It seems that fate has smiled after all.
Okay, so I'm going to go through everything that introduces in detail so that we're all on the same page. If you're new to the Darkest Dungeon style of gameplay, then that will be very helpful for you. Iratus is adding a whole bunch of different things and little tweaks to the formula, and that's why I want to take us through so we're all on the same page. So, minions, these guys are called. They each have 5 basic abilities and then an ultimate ability. Now, to use an ultimate ability, you need to use a special resource, Wrath. You don't get to really build that up until Iratus himself comes out to certain battles, and we'll get into that in a few battles from now. It is position-based, so minions and enemies can use certain abilities only from specific positions and within specific targets. So when you're looking at your skills, you want to pay attention to which is highlighted. That's the position you need to be in. And from that position, the highlighted ones are the ones that you can attack. So straight up, we need to figure out what our guys are capable of. And there's a bunch of things that are happening on screen right now. There's a whole bunch of different attributes. The main thing that we're going to focus on right now, and we'll introduce those kind of as we go, is just the skills and the abilities. So it's his turn first. You can see the order of operations up here. You can highlight characters to get a breakdown on what's going on with them and what their strength is and all of that. This is your health. This is your sanity, but this works quite a bit differently from the sanity in other games. So let's see. First thing, we can just do physical attacks with this guy from this position. So we can use Unassuming Strike. We can ignore armor with this. It deals 16 to 18 damage. Or we can use Smite, which is a physical attack. It attacks twice, dealing 55% damage per attack. So this is going to be a little bit higher damage output if all things are equal. But if you crit, which is the thing, then this would be better because you'll crit for higher damage. Anyways, we're going to start with a double physical attack. And since this miner has a higher attack than this guy, like considerably, we're going to try and focus him down and kill him before he has the opportunity to do too much damage to us. So there are a whole bunch of different damage types. Physical and magical damage reduce the target's vigor. Igniting a target, which is magical, deals magical damage multiple times over the course of a few turns. Stress damage decreases the sanity of the target. You can curse a target, which will deal stress damage multiple times over the course of a few turns. So you can kind of see igniting is damage over time that's magic. Cursing is damage over time. Actually, it's not even damage. It's sanity over time. And then critical hits by your minions decrease enemy sanity. Enemy critical hits will increase it. Okay, so it's our turn next. Now, she's going to deal mainly in stress attacks, at least from this position. So what do we want to do here? We can deal 14 to 15 stress damage and move the target to a random position, but they're both up front. The positioning's not really going to matter. We could do a stress attack that hits all enemies, deals small amounts of damage, but they lose 4 attack for their next action. This doesn't stack, so we could cast this every time to reduce that 4, and I think we'll go for that. This guy's now dealing 0 to 4, and this guy's dealing 4 to 8. Pretty happy. Now, sanity, this is pretty cool how they've done this. So loss of sanity in combat can lead to various consequences. 1, insanity, a negative effect that weakens the enemy. Fine. Inspiration, a positive effect that strengthens the enemy. Death, receive any amount of stress damage while at 0 sanity, can lead to instantaneous death. And then there's a chance to flee from combat. So at low levels of sanity, an enemy on the outermost position of the combat row, so this guy here, has a chance to flee. So things to keep in mind. And you can see here what their stress levels are, what their vigor levels are, and you can kind of target accordingly. These guys are fairly weak, so we're just going to try and like beat them down pretty much. None of them have armor, so you'll notice this is armor over here. And as I said, I'll slowly introduce you to the rest of these. But unless we're getting a crit, I still think this one's probably better. So we're going to keep hammering the guy in the back there. So that would have been the same if we maxed out our dice roll on the damage from the first attack. I'm going to keep going with Soprano here to reduce their damage output. I don't think we want to be mixing vigor and sanity when we only have 2 people out here. Once we start building out our the size of our undead army, then mixing it up will be a little bit better. So one thing I should show you, so these guys have features. The skeleton is immune to all buffs and debuffs. That's good, and it's bad, obviously. For the, what do we call these guys again? The banshee? Yeah. The chance of enemies to escape increases by 2% each turn until it reaches 20%. This effect can't stack, so it's got its own implications there. Anyways, we need 13 damage here. Let's go with this smite again.
This never gets old.
No, it doesn't. We're just going to keep debuffing him. And this is dealing stress damage over time. So, not to confuse you, I shouldn't say it's dealing stress damage over time. What I mean by that is we are hitting him every time with that stress. And so over time, we are seeing a reduction there. Anyways, let's go for our basic attacks here. And after this battle, we'll get into showing you how we're actually going to be creating new minions to work with. And we basically use like the flesh of our enemies, the flesh and bones of them, which is pretty cool. This guy's basically hitting like a limp noodle, so I'm fine with it. He is decreasing her accuracy with this spell because he's probably looking at the situation thinking, well, when I'm cursed, I'm only dealing like 0 to 4 damage, so it's not a huge issue. Let's take this again. Oh, we got a crit on that one. I'll take it. He's gone. Okay, so that first level, you don't get any experience for Iratus or anything. You can see the damage they took, and then here's a bunch of stuff that the enemies dropped. It's like mixture of dust, rags, weapons, hearts, flesh, all that good stuff. So now we need to create 2 minions. We're going to do that over here in the creation section. After gathering parts from his defeated foes, Iratus can add new minions to his army. Using parts of uncommon, rare, or legendary quality will increase the stats of the created minion. Now this is so cool, actually, this system. With time, Iratus can acquire new ways of creating minions as well as various combat tactics. So uncommon, rare, and legendary. If we're looking at this, none of these are special. They're all common, right? You can filter up here. We're not getting anything special right away. However, right off the bat, you can see that we're able to create 6 different types of minions that we can put into our party. You can also unlock different minions here, and you can see what the requirements are. So get a minion to level 5, slay 75 enemies to get a Lich, get a Headhunter, defeat 3 bosses, all the way down to Ghoul, deal 5,000 damage to your own minions. So these are things that you're going to have to actually prioritize doing in order to unlock, which...
My undead tools can be made better.
Yes, they can. You're going to have to unlock these by hurting yourself. And so it's kind of got interesting implications there. Anyways, skeletons. These guys are basic, fairly unimpressive. They're so boring that they are never really acknowledged by their creators or their enemies. You can see what their abilities are. And our skeletons have these abilities. We didn't see them there because we're always in the same position. But notice that based on the position that they're in, they have different abilities that are available. This one is their ultimate. It's a stress attack that deals a ton of stress damage to all enemies, but it costs that 35 vigor, which we'll learn about in a bit. So we also have zombies. So if we go back to the basic information, before Iratus came along, zombies were considered little more than fodder troop. Took a true visionary to realize that a mindless mass of undead muscle can be used for more than simply bashing the heads of mortals. With a bit of technological assistance, these rotting hulks were turned into mobile artillery, capable of carrying and shooting cannons that would normally need several humans to operate.
Yeah.
You can also take a look at like what all of their stats are like. And I love that you can just totally customize, build out a party of whatever you want. Zombies also have quite a bit more health, and you can see a sample of their abilities here. We have the Bride of Arrakis, a design fashioned by the arch necromancer himself. The bride uses only the best part to raise a deadly archer with an unhealthy love for her creator. Said love is then channeled into a burning desire to shoot out the eyes of anything that might try to get close to the one she worships. And then this is like a huge amount of damage. Criticals deal 200% damage on that one. Her ultimate is a physical attack that deals 50% of her damage output, but it's a guaranteed crit. So you can like buff her up and then land that. We have a Dark Knight.
Am I in the mood for terror or lethality today?
He's so chatty. Dark Knight has less vigor. Manifestation of living void contained in a vessel of knightly armor. These necromantic soldiers are often seen leading the armies of undead against the civilization of the mortals, where they learn their skill to do battle and wage wars unknown, but all of them despise existence and seek to reduce everything to nothing. So if you take a look at this, they deal damage equal to 50% of the sum of Dark Knight's armor and resistance. So take a look at this, right? He's got a ton of armor, less vigor, but a ton of armor and resistance to magical damage. So these guys might make for a pretty cool like front line. We have the Banshee already, so we've kind of learned about that. And then we have Wraiths. Despite the seeming simplicity of this minion, its summoning has been prohibited by the Necromancers Guild since the dawn of history. Now, even Iratus remembers the reason for this decree. There are many dark rumors surrounding this particular summoning. Nobody seemed to have had the courage to put these theories to test, or maybe those that did never survived the process. Still, the guild has nothing but ruins for millennia. It is now up to Iratus to decide what to do with this knowledge. And then you can see here, so it's magic-based, stress, curse for stress over time. Here's some buffs where you gain dread. Dread impacts how much stress damage you do. There's traps, summoning a concealed cloud for 2 rounds. Any minion within the cloud receives evasion, which is kind of nice. And then you can stress attack for your ultimate, and all opponents kind of get swapped around. Anyways, the Dark Knight seems cool. We're gonna fill this up. It tells you what the requirements are, but you don't have to drag them in individually. Just bring them in like so.
Hardly an inspiring leader, but the dead cannot.
And I am going to put him up front because of the armor. and the resistance, but we'll keep an eye on his vigor, and he's not one that I've played with before. So let's go, we'll put our skeleton here, and maybe the Bride of Iratus. Can she be good in that third position? Almost all of her shots are good from there, except for this Overwatch. So even if things get messed around a little bit, then she could benefit. Actually, if I put her in the back, look at this. This is a stance, so we haven't talked about this yet, but they can assume these stances for the course of a battle. Some of them are one turn, but this is like whenever an enemy moves, we would deal physical damage, which obviously can stack up if we have people to combo that with. If we look at somebody like our Banshee in the third position here, that will move her forward. Here's the same idea. It's a stance from the back where you deal stress damage. She doesn't really have a lot of movement stuff, so could argue that we might just want to keep her in the back and use that stance instead, and maybe we will. Who else do we want to bring? Let's do this. We'll just keep her in this position, and if they get swapped, we can put her in a stance, and that's fine. Let's go. By the way, if you guys have any questions about anything I've explained, feel free to let me know below, and I'll be actively down there trying to answer any questions. But let's get rocking and rolling here. So the kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle, great veins of iron that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarves were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions for the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies that could obey, and that the humans could provide. With dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels, there was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper, year after year, unaware of the mortal danger of what waited them below. So you can see here that we've got access to a map and a pathing system, so we can choose which direction we want to go. You can see here's what a boss encounter looks like. Here's the exit that we will eventually reach.
To the world above.
And
it's only a matter of time.
We start in the mines, and then I imagine you just traverse through each of these sections. They have up till here available now, it looks like, and then these are coming after release. Anyways, let's do a battle, shall we? Okay, so unit features, I kind of touched on this already, but some enemies possess unique features that either strengthen or weaken them. Study the features of your minions and your enemies so that you can fight more effectively. So, for our guys, we know our skeleton's immune to buffs and debuffs. She has extra luck against female enemies, and she has that chance of enemies escaping by 2% each turn. Now, this 10% luck feature, if we look at that icon, it references to accuracy, and I think that that's just basically an accuracy boost. Notice how on the right, because she's highlighted here, she's at 120% accuracy, so I think that's how it works, and she would get that extra 10 against female enemies, of which we don't have any. This guy's feature, so when the Taskmaster dies, his allies actually recover sanity, which in my eyes means we should probably kill him last. He also has a couple of these things here, and if we highlight the appropriate icons, this is a physical block, and this is a ward, which is basically like a magic or stress block, and that will absorb all the damage from 2 attacks, because he's got 2 for block, and he's got 2 wards here. So we'll deal with him after. But anyways, let's get in here and start chunking these guys down. We've got a miner up front who's dealing 8 to 12 damage, and then the hunky, he's dealing 4 to 8 damage. So let's try and take down the stronger guy first if we can. Does he have any armor? No, he doesn't. So let's do this one. And then we've got the chest piercer if we want to crit. We can buff, so the bride gains +4 attack and +4 dread till the battle ends, which is probably decent here. This battle is going to go on for at least a few rounds. We could do some fire damage, or we could do stress damage if we want. Let's do the buff first. Okay, next, we could either give everybody dread if we're going to focus on getting their sanity down. So Dread's here, shows how much damage this minion will deal with stress attacks. Or we can just do stress attacks and then we move people around, which could be good. Some of these early guys might not have, some of these front guys might not be able to hit us if they're in the back, so. Let's see where he goes. Nowhere. That was his random position. There's our armor, basically chunking through everything. So he can absorb, as long as this guy's dealing 8 or less, he's going to absorb all of that, which is pretty cool. All right, so how do we want to do this? Deals additional damage equal to 50% the sum of Dark Knight's armor and resistances. So he's got, I guess, 16. So he should deal, the way I read this, he's going to deal 6 damage plus 50% of 16, so 8. So he should deal 14. Let's start there and see what happens. Boom. Okay, yeah, this is pretty good early. That armor is really good. Now, like our characters, I imagine that future enemies would have things that pierce armor as well, which makes them significantly less efficient, right? So that's something that we got to keep in mind. He's just really strong at the moment. He's got a 20% accuracy buff and 20% to damage as well.
Maybe I'll grab this.
Let's take him down.
Furniture.
And let's see. We already did want to... Oh, yeah, we buffed. Right, that's right. We buffed last time, didn't we? Let's go... We're not really shuffling these guys around too much. Let's just go straight up damage. That's heavy. Very heavy. We could do the soprano thing so that they lose some attack damage. And if they're forced to attack this guy, that feels pretty good. So, one of his wards got used up, and this is going to bring us an opportunity to talk about how all of this works. So, armor resistance, blocks, and wards. Armor, receive physical damage, just decreased by the amount of armor the target has. Very simple calculation. If I do a 10 damage attack, he's got 5 armor, he's going to take 5 damage. Resistance, receive magical damage, decreased by the amount of resistance the target has. Same exact thing, just for magic. Blocks. Now, this is that blue shield. Expended to completely nullify the next physical attack. And then wards, they block magical or stress attacks. And you can see we've reduced it by 1. Critical hits do ignore both blocks and wards, though. But you can't really count on critical hits unless it's a guaranteed one, like we saw on one of our minions there. But I think that was their ultimate. So anyways, this is kind of cool, too. So... all of these stances, I don't really have a great opportunity to use it here, but I'm sure we will in one of these upcoming missions. But what I like about this is you can utilize these stances to deal with certain enemy party compositions. So like this guy is an example. If they have somebody that's just casting nonstop buffs, every time this happens, they'll take stress damage, and I just love that can happen. Removes all debuffs from the Dark Knight, and Iratus gains 8 mana. So this is fine, but Iratus isn't with us right now. We'll learn about that next. Let's just keep dealing damage here. Okay, so he's reduced our accuracy. He doesn't take anything. And let's finish this guy off now.
As worthless as you were in life, you will be worth something in death.
So with him, there's a couple of ways that we can try and deal with this. We could focus on stress, because it's a bit lower. And I think just in order to kind of demonstrate some stress stuff to you guys, I'm going to do that. So he's got that first one blocked. We'll try and just focus on any stress damage that we can. What else do we have here? 80% stress damage, deals an additional 2/2 damage for each buff or debuff on the target. Cool. Based on our party composition, I would very likely just try and kill him. I think it would be faster. This I have to actually just attack. However, one thing to note, so he's got 2 armor block here, or 2 physical attack block. This does 2 attacks, so we can eat up both of those. Let's go to warning shot. Okay, so now he's suffering from berserk. So damage dealt is increased by 25%. Damage received is increased by 50%. So let's take a look here. So this is dealing 14 to 15. See that? Pretty significant. And that when it says damage like that, it's not just saying physical. It's all damage is amplified. So this is going to be 0 right away here. Now, when he's at 0, this is where when he takes damage, he is going to have a chance to just die straight up. Yeah, so we're going to try and deal stress damage. We have to hit here again, physically. But because he's got that berserk, he's taking all that extra damage. There, we got him. Toast. So these enemies are pretty basic, right? This is the tutorial, which is introducing us to everything. But as you can imagine, and there's actually there's a warning that comes up at the beginning of the game saying, your guys are going to die. Don't get attached. It's part of the game, right? And hopefully we see that. Hopefully we'll experience that. After winning a battle, Iratus receives rewards. Architect's soul, needed to construct and improve buildings. Parts for crafting minions, like we saw. Artifacts, which can increase the power of your minions and Iratus himself. Brains, used to quickly increase the level of minions. And then additionally, minions that did not participate in the battle restore a small amount of vigor. So we're kind of building up your bench a little bit, right? Notice we got XP here this time. Scroll of Skull Fall, and then a bunch of parts. So now we can equip Iratus with the acquired artifact. We do that over here. There are 4 main types of artifacts: weapons, armor, rings, and amulets. You'll also encounter consumables. So each artifact only apply for 1 battle, after which they are spent. Or sorry, that's just the consumables, not each artifact. At the beginning of the game, Iratus receives 1 random artifact. So we've got this. It's a consumable. Now you can see the appropriate slots for the others.
Before me. Well, even more than previously.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to the map. And there's a couple of ways that we can go. We can go over here to a Sacrificial Altar. By sacrificing minions, Iratus receives items and artifacts. Okay, that's cool. Up here we have a quest, an event requiring the participation of Iratus himself or the current battle group. We're going to do this. I don't think we're in the business of giving up any minions at this exact moment. Okay. Your hordes grow, shambling forward to the dark hymn of the necromancy. This is all randomly generated, by the way. Like, when I've gone through and played for an hour or so before, even in the tutorial, the layout was different. I didn't see that altar, and this random event is different too. Yet that melody is not the only thing they hear with their unsightly ears. A few minions report the sound of wails coming from the other side of the rock wall.
Having an enchanted map like this is pretty handy.
This guy, you might be thinking, okay, this guy interrupts a lot. But to be fair, when you're playing on your own, you're not talking out loud generally. Upon further inspection, it is not a rock wall at all, but a cave-in. And it seems that a bunch of miners are trapped on the other side. You could always use some fresh bodies, but is it really worth your time to save these poor souls? So we could try to dig them out. Probability of success is 60%. We could just leave. Or if, oh, cool. So if we had a zombie, we could just do it. That's neat. We're going to try.
I'll take it as tribute.
The dead bodies groan as they laboriously move the stones, clearing the passage slowly. Eventually, they form a hole large enough for the grateful humans to start pouring through right into the cold, waiting arms of your minions. Look at all this. Lovely. Lovely for us, bad for them. Okay, let's throw down. So now we're fighting with Iratus. We have resources and magic for him. Iratus possesses the following resources: mana, needed to use talents from the magic, ire, and destruction trees. Mana is restored after victory in combat, though minion abilities through minion abilities or via certain encounters on the map. And then here's the Wrath, so our minions can start using their ultimates. Needed to use their ultimate abilities, Wrath increases during combat. Now, remember the book that we equipped, that Skull Fall? We could use this. It deals 10 magic damage to all enemies, sets targets on fire for 2 turns, dealing 10 magic damage per turn. That's like massive amounts of damage. This guy he's a taskmaster again. So when he dies, these guys recover sanity, so we'll try and kill him off last. But look, I'm just gonna use this because it's super strong.
Hello to my burning friend.
Now, notice how it was the Bride of Aratus' turn, and we could use these spells from Iratus himself as an additional thing. It doesn't remove her turn or anything like that, which is pretty nice. So these guys are all taking 10 damage per turn right now. This guard is dealing 12 to 18, minor 8 to 12, hunky. This guy also has, notice, he's got 3 armor. Okay. So we could stack the fire. I think I will, actually. That's another way of dealing with armor, is get these status effects going. So now he's taking 10 from the scroll and 5 to 6 from Flames of Love. Now we get to see some other abilities from our skeleton because we have more people to target based on his position. So we could change into a stance where he gains 6 armor and 6 resistance until his next action. Enemies will attack. So it's kind of like a taunt, but he's also going to build up armor and resistances, which could work out pretty nicely for us here. I don't mind that at all. What does this one do? Stress attack links the skeleton with the target. The skeleton loses 30% vigor. The target loses 30%, 15% for bosses of sanity. So this is good if they have really large sanity pools, I guess. Let's do this. So talking about stances, a type of ability that some minions and enemies can use in battle. Stances differ in duration. We have a 1-turn stance that ends at the start of the character's next turn. Stance till the end of combat, which, as you can imagine, any stance can be cancelled via forced movement or stunning, unless the description of the stance specifies otherwise. So that's good for us to know when enemies start using stances. We can try to shuffle them around or stun them to get them out of it. And now he's got that taunt on, so look at that. He's absorbing all of that damage. Pretty nice. What else do we have here? Whenever an enemy moves, the Banshee will deal stress damage. We could throw that stance in there. You know what? Yeah, let's do that stance as well. So he's buffing him up. Notice how they moved? And then he's got to take that stress damage. Pretty nice. Okay. What do we want to do here? I think we're just going to hammer down this guy in front. His stress damage is stacking up. He is taking physical damage too, but let's just maybe try and finish him off with stress. So he's unlucky. And to my knowledge, those seem random. Anytime that we reduce their sanity to a certain amount, they get these debuffs. So he's losing accuracy, evasion, and luck, right? We're going to go ahead and warning shot on this guy. So he's going to be reduced, then he's going to move. So that's sick. That's a cool combo because she's in the stance that's dealing damage whenever somebody moves, right? So we brought him down to 0 with the shot, and then he moved. He was at 0 and he died, which is pretty nice. We do have the ultimates now. So you can see this is where this is building up. And I'm not sure how quickly it builds, but it does build over the course of the battle. Notice as well that Skullfall is back and ready to be used. And I think that's just based on the mana. So I thought that this was like a single use thing, but appears not to be. Anyway, let's do an ultimate here where we're going to do this shield banger. Dealing 150% stress damage. Now, this would be better if we had buffed these guys and prepped like these really cool synergies. But we're just going to do it to kind of show you as much as I can. Okay, so they're all low. Let's see. So he's got cowardice, chance to flee increases by 20% each turn. And if we look here, this is the chance to escape, I guess. It's called chance to escape here, chance to flee. I'd like to see those be called the exact same thing. Even here where it's like accuracy and then we have that luck thing, that's me inferring how that works. So I'm hoping that that's accurate. We could deal a little bit more stress damage here and then they lose 4 attack on everybody. Okay, so he threw a trap down. This is an ability, the effects of which are limited to one specific position. Depending on the specifics of the trap, a character occupying that position can receive negative or positive effects. Trap can be destroyed by certain abilities or overridden by another trap. All right. So, do we see what exactly that's doing, or... Anyways, okay. So he's got cowardice, the chance to flee, and then before the beginning of their turn, deals stress damage to all allies equal to 20% of the remaining sanity, which isn't a lot because he's super low, so he's not really going to deal anything. This guy does the same thing, though, and because he has sanity left, he will deal some damage. And this guy's hopeless, so 50% of his attack stuff is gone. Luck is reduced to 0. Oh, there we go. Shows the likelihood of landing a critical hit. Negative luck on the target increases the luck of the attacker. Okay, so here, I'm guessing that that's just the wrong icon then. So that's why I was confused. I'm glad we caught it, but that's where the luck comes from, is it's a crit chance. All right, cool. Anyway, let's do... Let's do this. And our guys are like, we're taking so much damage right now. So he moved into that trap. I see how the trap works now. Cool. This is my first time seeing a trap, so. Let's go ahead and stress this guy. And... see, we moved out of that stance.
One more for the stockpiles.
Killed that one. That whip isn't doing a whole lot. And I'm spending a lot of time, like, fighting against their stresses. Only because, like, our initial attacks with these guys attributed to that, and we seem to be able to kill them however we want right now. So, let's see. I don't want to lose 30% vigor if I don't have to. Let's just go for an attack here. Doesn't really matter. He still survived. So that is chance-based, right? Look at their chances to flee, though. We'll just take him out the old-fashioned way.
Tide.
And now, anytime he takes this, he has a chance to just straight up die. So I kind of feel like that's what we just keep hammering. Pretty resilient. There we go. So, very similar to, like, how a Darkest Dungeon would be as an example.
It is fertilizer.
You can deal different damage types. Physical is probably the easiest way to go, but we're just experimenting here to try and show you as much as we can. Now we have these things called talents. So winning battles rewards Iratus with experience that increases his level, and at each level, he receives talent points that can be used on the following ability trees. So Alchemy increases the efficiency of your minions and resource economy. Magic spells weaken foes, requires mana to use. Ire, spells that strengthen minions, so buffs, require mana. And then Destruction, deals direct damage to enemies, requires mana to use. So destruction sounds the most cool, right? So we should probably take that. But look at, even within each specific section, there's a bunch of different things to choose from. So let's take a look at some of these. So under the alchemy tree, increases the chance of receiving parts at the end of battle by 10%. Increase the chance of receiving souls by the architect at the end of a battle by 25%. Increase the chance of receiving artifacts at the end of battle by 20%. And allows you to replace parts in a minion with higher quality parts of the same type. That's cool. Actually, I like that a lot. Magic deals 20 stress damage to a target. Whip. Sorry, did I say magic? Under the magic tree, Sorrow deals 20 stress damage. Whip moves the selected minion 2 positions forward. A Bride of Iratus will additionally gain plus 25% accuracy for 1 action. All minions gain plus 2 initiative for 2 actions. Pretty nice. Like a haste. Arcana Antediluvia. Iratus restores 5 mana after every fight. We have Ire, Blind Fury. Every time a minion misses with an attack, Iratus gains plus 3 Wrath. Amok. The chosen minion loses 12 luck and gains 6 attack and 6 dread until the end of combat. So you're basically foregoing crits for guaranteed damage. Drums of War. At the start of a turn, a minion gains plus 2 initiative for 1 turn if Iratus has at least 25 Wrath.
Of human skin.
Iratus extends all ignition effects on the target by 1 turn. I like this because it's cheap, for only 5 mana. And then Destruction. Deals 35 to 45 stress damage to the chosen enemy and 20 physical to a random minion. Iratus deals 3 magic damage, sets target on fire for 2 turns, dealing 9 magic damage per turn. It's not bad. Iratus deals 12 to 16 physical damage to each enemy at 1 and 2 positions. And then Iratus sets a trap at a random enemy position. If explodes in 2 turns, then 50 magic to any foe at that position. Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do that. What else do we want to grab here? We could do something like... I think we'll just stick in the destruction tree, maybe. I like this. Hits the 1 and 2 positions for 11 mana. I think that's fine. All right, so let's go back out there. And I will say, I really appreciate a game that has a good tutorial. And this is a fantastic... This is how you do tutorials. Introduce one thing at a time. Even like our first battle, we didn't have Iratus at all, right? And then we slowly layer one thing after another. And it's the best way to learn a game. Developers, please do this in every game. That'd be great. Okay, we have to go to this. What is this? Stela? I don't know. Contains the records of past battles, which can be used to raise the level of minions or Iratus himself. Choose who will be trained. EXP for minions, EXP for Iratus. Let's go for minions. Okay, so they've all just leveled up, actually. So do I do something with this? I guess it's probably going to teach me that after? Nope, I can just do it here. Okay. So I have 1 skill point. So Scream.
Now,
oh, cool.
prove yourself worthy of my investment.
Okay, so good to know. Once you select it, there's no backing out. Also, viewer names. I love this. This is so good. Okay. So we can customize these. That's great. Once we pick this, it's kind of looks like it's an either or scenario. Then it gives us a stat boost and changes the attack, I guess. So it's a paralyzing scream now. It's going to deal 75% of the stress damage, moves the target to a random position, and the target loses 8 evasion for 3 turns. All right, cool. Bride of Arrakis. We're using this one quite a bit, or at least we should be, if we're not just messing around with stress all the time. Looks like these cost, I'm not sure how you would upgrade these. Maybe there's something special for upgrading ultimates. Anyways, this takes the crit damage to 250. Critical hit will stun the target for 1 action. Bosses are immune. Let's take the critical up to 250 there. The skeleton, we can give him this unassuming strike so that it can ignore a block as well, which is not bad. Clumsy strike, ignores armor and just never misses. Also pretty good. We haven't dealt with a lot of evasion. This interrupts stances already. Enemies attack skeleton more often. So this goes up to 8 and 8, which I like. Strikes back when attacked, dealing 75% stress damage. Ooh, I like that. Yes, I'm just going to take that. Any type of like retaliation stuff where we're getting attacked and it's a free reactionary shot at the enemy, I feel is like quite strong. Anyways, his basic attacks, he's up in front, so let's focus on some of these. This deals 75% of his damage and then still 50% of the combined attributes. This deals, it keeps his base the same. Okay, cool. This keeps his base the same, but deals 75% the sum of his armor and resistance. Let's do that.
Expect results.
Looks like they can max out at 4 levels, I guess, but I'm not sure. All right, let's take a battle here. This is really good, by the way, if you haven't figured out how much I like it. Okay, so the scroll that we used before, so that was like, I guess it's a one battle thing, not a one-time use. So now we have these talents that we had unlocked, and we could use these if we want. So set a trap at a random enemy position, explodes in 2 turns, dealing 50 magic damage to any foe. And I feel like with this many, we should just use it. Where do I want to set this? Oh, it sets it at a random position. Okay, I don't even control.
Tingle up your spine.
And then looks like I can only use 1 spell regardless of mana, so that's fine. This guy has physical block. This guy is a taskmaster, so we'll kill him later. Too bad I didn't pick that other thing, right? Anyways, the miner is going to be a little bit of a problem. I could try and move him around. Or we can deal... let's do this. Let's start setting him on fire. We don't care about that physical block. Yikes. Ooh, what is that now? What was that just happened? Moves the target to a random position. Didn't move. How am I going to deal with this guy? Thing is, he's going to have that physical block first. I can just go on this guy, maybe. Let's do this one now. His stance. So we can start tanking. How long until this explodes? It explodes in 2 turns, dealing 50 magic damage. Alright. Now, with the Bride, I almost wonder if I just do this. Overwatch. I'm going to do a stance here with her, and then she has the one that can move people around. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. She's actually taken quite a bit of heat. Oh, that's our first miss. All right. All right. All right. Okay. All enemies lose 12 vigor. Dark Knight recovers vigor in the amount of damage received by enemies. Very nice. Very expensive. He's down to 34 out of 60. Let's do it. That ignores the block too. That's cool. Good to know. I don't really have a way to get this guy healed, though. So that's something we're going to have to watch for. I don't know if I want them necessarily attacking him right now. Probably focused up here is fine. This guy's going to block. Nice crit. Okay, so he's insanity. Losing 50% of his attack is huge for us. This guy's losing initiative and damage. Ugh. This skeleton's in a bit of trouble. Just a little bit. Let's deal... Let's do this. The blood spear. Okay, so all of his block is gone now. What do we want to do? Restore a target to full sanity and gives Iratus mana equal to 30% of the restored sanity. Huh. That's kind of cool, actually. So we just use these spells a lot more. We don't really need it because we can use the bone spear again anyway. Let's reduce attack.
Your cries are music to me.
Do we just go for the kill here? 21. It's possible. Not today. But close. Let's just take him out.
Brave are an excellent source of...
Hopefully our skeleton survives. Should I buff him here? Or just go for damage? Stress attack deals pretty decent amount. This guy have armor? No. That's such a weird attack that he has, where he can attack the front and the, like the first and the third.
Impale this wretch.
We'll use the bone spears here. And check this out. Guarantees a crit for 50 wrath.
Extinction of life.
It's not bad. Not amazing, but not bad. I would really like to kill him now. Very close. I can't deal any physical damage here. Ugh. Okay, let's reduce his attack. Oh, okay. That backfired on us. So remember, when they drop to this sanity, they go insane, become inspired, or escape. And he got inspired. So his damage output is now higher. And I guess that's the risk. These probably happen at a lower frequency, but that's cool that we saw that. So he got a bit of a boost there, but either way, this should kill him. Nice.
Mine is the winning side.
I'll say, guys, I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Improve minion by using a brain. Okay, hold on. Minions upgrades. So minions can evolve and can be improved in multiple ways. Leveling a minion increases their maximum vigor and improves their abilities. Improving an ability not only enhances the ability itself, but also gives bonus stats. Using parts of higher quality gives a minion higher stats. Items can be used or can provide your minions with additional features, and a brain can instantly give them several levels. Okay. So here, we have 4 brains. So hold up. How does this work exactly? I'm just seeing like... Okay. Let's see the Bride of Arrakis here. So if I click on the brain... Oh, that's probably... Oh, okay. So that's like the level of the brain. And notice how I said before, I think we can maybe get to like 3 upgrades. Or 3 levels, or 4 levels. That was wrong. That was wrong. But we can do some upgrades here now. So let's see. You can't switch back. Once you make a selection, you can't go back on it, which is kind of cool. So for her... what's something that we're using a lot of that we just want to build up? We are using this. Ignores ward. It would also gain block and ward, which would keep them in that stance for longer, potentially. I kind of like this one. We use this quite a bit. And this would make them lose 6 attack for their next action. At least now that seems really strong, based on the enemies, the few enemies that we've been running into. Bride of Iratus, we can do... oh, wait, hold up. Oh, no, okay, that's just showing what we've already done. Good, okay. What would be next? Setting people on fire is pretty good. Sets them on fire for 2 turns at 30% instead of 25, and deals 60% instead of 50. This keeps them for 3 turns, dealing 25% damage per turn. So it's just an extra turn, which I think probably gets us more damage overall right now.
Prove yourself worthy.
So we'll do that.
Investment.
And then this is that stress attack that we've been using. Increases target's chance to escape by 25. And I guess the escape is good for us. We want them to just run away. This could interrupt stances. And the target's unable to move during their next turn. We haven't run into stances yet.
Only I know how to unlock the true potential of necromancer.
We could ignore armor with this deadly watch, but we're not using that very often for her. I'm going to take this side.
Back to battle.
Skeleton-wise, we should probably just grab this one, because we're using this all the time. This will go performing additional attacks for each buff on the target. Interesting. Minus or 4% chance to immediately kill the target. Oh, heck yeah.
Serve me
Why
well,
not?
my minion.
And then the Dark Knight, we're going to go with... We're not really in that position very often, so that's why I don't want to upgrade that. I guess we'll take this one. So this deals way more stress damage. And this deals based on buffs or debuffs. So let's just take the straight up damage.
Enemies are in for a nasty surprise.
Anyways, I'm sure that I'm just like scratching the surface here. Let's see what happens here when we go to this chest. Select a boon. Nobleman's Garb. Iratus gains 20% more parts after a battle if 4 minions were at level 3 or better, which we actually are. If no minions were killed in a battle, all minions that took part in the battle restore 15% vigor. That seems very good. Enemies are less likely to escape. 15% less likely. So I imagine that there's some type of balance. If they escape, we're maybe not getting XP or something. So... I think we take this so that people can kind of stay out there for longer. But anyways, I wanted to give you guys a really good introduction to this game. I've played it now for about 2.5 hours, and I'm really liking it. And I think you're going to obviously make comparisons to Darkest Dungeon, which you should, because you can see the influence. But all the influence has been for the better, I think. This is kind of like a Darkest Dungeon 1.5. There's a lot of synergies going on here, and we've only experimented with a few of these possible minion types, right? If we look in here, like, there's still a bunch of stuff that we can unlock and learn about, and that seems really, really cool. This is going into early access, so I'm sure that things are going to change over time, but for now, I already think it's in a pretty damn good spot. And I would, sponsored or not, I'd be giving you guys my very honest opinion about this. You could probably tell because I haven't stopped talking for 60 straight minutes that I am thoroughly enjoying it. And I would consider doing more of this. If you guys want to see like an actual attempt at a run, then let me know. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, check it out for yourself. I have links down below that you can click on, buy the game on Steam, and let me know what you guys think about the game. It's fun for me. I hope it's fun for you. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.